Today on Toy Habits Reviews, we are taking a detailed look at the Masterverse's Cosmic Enforcer and his MOTU Classics counterpart on the examination table. And before we get into the review, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can be alerted to the latest reviews, news, and episodes when they drop. Hey everyone, welcome back to Toy Habits, and we are coming at you from our examination room. I'm Michael, and with me is my collector in crime, Larry, and today we are taking a detailed look at the Masters of the Universe Masterverse New ETERNIA ZODAC and his MOTU Classics counterpart. And let's start off by looking at the box. And this is actually the first time we've seen a Masterverse box live with the 40th anniversary branding on it.
Yeah, it's cool to see, and I do want to point out that title for these figures is such a mouthful. I'm glad you're reading it off and not me, because it's like 6 different subtext under each. It's just such a mouthful trying to read all this stuff off. I'm sure
it is,
but you did great.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's cool to see the 40th anniversary packaging and stuff, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do going forward with little things like that. Adding little pieces of flair here and there.
Yeah, I am too, because usually the fronts of these boxes are dang boring, and so usually the eye candies on the sides and the back of the boxes, and the Zodac art is in a really cool cosmic scene.
Yeah, this looks awesome. I really like the coloring of it. It kind of makes me think of like the vintage card art a lot. With the kind of the blues and the reds. Kind of has that little bit of that same feel to it with the coloring, but the art's incredible.
Oh, it is, and yeah, he's definitely got that Cosmic Enforcer look to him. He's getting those after those baddies that are in the distance there. All right, well, let's take a closer look at the figure in the light box. All right, and here we have Zodac in his new Eternia look, and I must say the Zodac figure has never been that exciting of a figure to look at, but I think they made some great visual updates here.
Yeah, they did a good job of kind of capturing that kind of vintage look, but also adding a little bit of a new style to him with the shoulder pads, I guess, and the holster. I think it's updated enough where it gives him a different look, but it's still able to be removed where you can get kind of that vintage look as well. So that's pretty cool if they were able to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like his head sculpt is a little more aerodynamic and just looks less rounded than we've seen before.
Yeah, I like the head sculpt a lot. I think it does. It looks good proportion to the figure, kind of the I guess helmet piece of it. There's enough there to be substantial, but you still get to see enough of his face where you can kind of like, it just looks like it maybe fits a little better.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I think it's a good design. They looks like the kind of kept along with his usual look. So yeah, good head sculpt.
Yeah, and you can kind of see in the back of his helmet, it's kind of squared off in the back. And yeah, these large shoulder pieces. Now, I wasn't really sure how these would fit together looking at the official images, and I remember seeing that little nub piece, and I thought it attached a different way, but actually they attach in the spot where his weapons stow in his armor. So, yeah, I'm not sure what I think about that part.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks. I guess he doesn't... he's not somebody that has like an axe and a sword. And he does have his staff, so I guess sometimes you might put that on his back. Maybe it's not as big of a deal with somebody like Zodac as it would be for like He-Man or Skeletor or somebody that you would normally think of with a sword. But yeah, that kind of does suck because it kind of takes away that kind of display option that you might have had otherwise.
Yeah, definitely. And they're actually pretty easy to remove. You can just take them off really easily, and they just kind of fit like you would stow a weapon. So, I think from that standpoint, that's great. But again, you can't give him that new Eternia look and also stow his staff in there too. So you got to make a trade-off.
Right. And you mentioned that those shoulder pads are slightly different color, and I couldn't tell as much just with the way the figure, just at the kind of those first looks at the figure in the video, but looking at it here with the closer shots, you can definitely tell that there's a little bit of a difference in the reds.
Yeah, definitely. And, of course, he has his little holster that's attached to his armor piece that kind of gives him that Cosmic Enforcer look too, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a cool addition, and once again, being able to remove it if you don't like it, I think it makes it kind of. I love when they do that kind of stuff, because it kind of gives a different display option, but it's also able to be taken off, because sometimes you look at this stuff when we see like the production shots, and I see it and I'm like, oh, that looks great, and then you get it in hand, and you're like, it looks great, but I don't really want it on there,
Right. And of course, you have this extra loin piece, which is very important, like they did with New Eternia Beastman. I think my only problem with this is it's molded onto the, sorry for everybody, here who has to watch this. It's molded onto his actual loincloth, so you can't actually cut it off.
Yeah, I kind of, for me, I think that'd be cool if the loincloth was a separate piece, and then that extra kind of, flap of material hung over the top of that.
Yeah.
And actually, I would like to see it removable, because I think it's a cool addition. But I think that would be something that would be cool if you could swap it out as well. But probably kind of nitpicking a little bit on that one,
yeah.
I guess.
That's all right. That's what we do, right?
Yeah, that's what it's for. But I guess just like in a perfect world, I think if that was removable, it'd be better.
Yeah, totally. I agree. And you also get his feet are given more of just a claw-like appearance, and this is actually a reuse of parts from the Revelation Merman.
Yeah, that's pretty typical for Zodac's feet. They're usually. And I kind of like the texturing on like the boots, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah, they look cool.
It's funny because it looks like he's barefoot, but then what's the boot look like?
I don't know. Some of the design choices here are a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, it's like kind of they try to stick with that vintage look and everything that we're accustomed to, but then you do end up with with stuff like this where you get more detail, where you're really left to kind of consider what's happened here. Like he's barefoot, but he has are those like just ankle socks that don't maybe he just has socks on there. Maybe just I don't know what's going on. You know?
They kind of look like aquatic socks with the feet. So
yeah,
that's what it looks like to me. All right, well, let's next take a look at his weapons pack out. All right, and Zodac comes with his traditional red gun and a staff and an extra set of hands. And let's take a closer first look at the staff. And so this staff comes apart in the middle, and you can either display it as a single piece or two separate weapons, and they just kind of connect together like this.
Yeah, and I like that they make it where you can pop it apart. For me, it feels a little bit too much like batons or something. As separate pieces, so I like it better as just the single staff. But I think it got it looks like it should. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's kind of modeled after the gun, right?
Yeah,
and I think here's from that display perspective where you can kind of turn them around and you can stow the weapons in the back here. So I think they actually don't really fit very well if you don't connect them in the right place. So I guess you gotta.
They're sitting up like a rocket or something.
Yeah.
His back, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I guess you can move this lower, but just kind of it doesn't fit really nicely inside the thinner part, which I just discovered.
Nope. Yeah, because those clips are opened more because of the shoulder pad peg, probably.
Yeah.
And this I'm not a big fan of that. Those stick up too high for me. It looks kind of.
Yeah, I mean you can put them down a little bit, but they're kind of hard to finagle. But but still, it still comes up pretty high on the figure.
Yeah, on second thought, then it's not a problem that you can't stow the weapons. It's good.
Yeah, I guess so. It's funny. Yeah, I was gonna call that a design flaw, but maybe it's a happy accident.
Yeah.
All right, and then
this look.
Yeah. And then taking a closer look at the gun, it's his classic red coloring, and then they've added some gray flare to it.
Yeah, it looks like they did a good job on that. I like that the handle's got some kind of detailing to it. Everything looks good. The paint apps look clean.
Yeah, and his holster is removable, and you can actually throw his gun in the holster, which I think is cool. I think that I've only seen this on the G.I. Joe Classified series figures right now, and so I know it's a different toy company, but it's kind of cool that they're moving in a direction like this.
Yeah, I think things like that just help with they're just small improvements because it's just once again an extra way to kind of change up the look of a figure on the shelf.
Yeah, and his holster, like we mentioned before, is removable, and it's a bit of a process to remove. So we've made a short video demonstration for this that we'll talk through. All right, and like we said before, the holster is removable, and just to zero in on this here, it's kind of a process to remove just because of those straps. Now, my dexterity is not great, and so that's why I was filming this ahead of time. So you have to remove his back strap and then those two leg straps, and I don't know what it is, but I always have problems removing those.
Oh yeah, I do too. My dexterity is the same way, where just little stuff like that can be extremely hard to work with
Yeah,
sometimes.
and
So
then it
yeah,
slides
I
off,
understand.
and you kind of can get his classic look, which I'm actually really happy about because I was worried that that holster wouldn't come off and you were just stuck with it.
Yeah, do you think it's going to cause any problem with kind of like the bottom part of the armor at all?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the only problem I have is just getting that back in, but you can actually transform him more into his classic look. And I did forget the strap when I was doing this, so you kind of have to go back and plug that in. But I think that's the cool part about this figure is you can kind of get it very very close to his classics or classic look.
Yeah, no, I think looking at him here, he definitely looks a lot like the classics figure. I think that kind of the loincloth piece is really the only thing that's
Yeah,
different. And maybe a little difference in the boots too,
yeah,
but other than that, it's pretty similar.
yeah. Yeah. And speaking of the classics figure, let's just throw them side by side with his counterpart. All right, so here we have the Masterverse Zodac and the MOTU Classics version, and we also threw the Origins version in there because why not? And since his holster is removable, you can get him really close to that classic look minus that extra loincloth.
Yeah, I think he looks pretty similar. I mean, it's funny seeing them all three in the same shot here. Just kind of seeing the color variations in the armor
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Seeing that the Origins version is a lot brighter
Yeah.
red. And then Classics is even more of like a maroon, kind of closer to a maroon a little bit. I think there's been a lot of times where I feel like I prefer the Masterverse version, but I think for Zodak, I kind of like some of the detailing that they did on the Classics version,
Yeah.
and I feel like it could have been a little bit of that kind of extra paint app on the belt. And then the extra black paint that they added to the armor, and even a little bit of shadowing around the logo on his armor too. I think could have might have kind of helped out a little bit as
Oh,
well.
definitely. Yeah. And I think, like, on the back armor, of course, the Masterverse one has that place to stow the weapons, but I do like the way the classics design that piece looks on the back. It looks like it serves more of a purpose. Like it's
Hmm.
like a generator or something is back there, but, on the Masterverse one, it just kind of looks like an armor piece.
Yeah, even a parachute or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Zodak probably doesn't need a parachute, but
But,
and the other thing I was noticing is that the Masterverse armor is less tapered than the others. That somehow like the way it looks is almost more like one of those muscle shirts, like a muscle tank top with the sides ripped all the way down. It has, and I don't. It's less open than the other ones are, but somehow they look more like a natural armor piece or something than this does.
yeah, it's funny because you would obviously want more armor for protection, but yeah, it definitely looks weird. Kind of when,
Yeah,
when you put it that way.
yeah. I don't know why, but it's yeah. The other two just look more tapered, and so not a big deal, but just a little bit of a difference, I
Yeah,
guess.
and then actually when they're side by side, you can get a good sense of how they've changed some of the helmet design, like we alluded to before. Like I think the Masterverse one looks more streamlined, and like the Classics one now just kind of looks all bug-eyed.
Yeah. It has more of a definitely more of a like a bug-eyed look, and I think it doesn't the classics kind of comes to like a rounded point above his
Yeah,
nose, where the Masterverse is definitely like a hard angle there, coming up to a point. So
definitely.
yeah, just some different design choices.
Yeah. And all right, let's take one more final look at the figure and give you our final thoughts and ratings. All right, and as for ratings, I would give this figure a 6 out of 7 as I thought that they had captured his classic look pretty well, and we all know and love that look. And they made some cool updates to the figure, with the armor pieces and and some things like that. But I'm actually dinging them a full point for how they handled the armor because I don't like to make trade offs from a display perspective for poor design decisions.
Yeah. I think for me, I think I would be like a 5.5. I think it's a good figure. I think it's if you don't have the classics figure, or if you just like this version better, I think it's definitely a solid replacement. But I do think, yeah, there's some differences there, as far as those still show the way the shoulder pads snap in, and I think even a little bit for just the paint, the variation in the coloring. I think that's stuff you gotta take care of beforehand. And I think there could have been a couple more paint apps added to give them a little more detail here and there. But overall, it's a really solid figure.
Yeah, it is. And that wraps up our review of the Masterverse new Eternia Zodac. So let us know what you think of the Cosmic Enforcer in the comments below. I'm Michael.
And I'm Larry.
Thanks for dropping into the Toy Habits examination room.